In transactional networking, the conversation is always centered around the person you're talking to can buy what you're selling. But when you're in B2B, the person you're talking to can't buy what you're selling. They're not a big enough company traditionally. So you have to change the dynamic of, instead of networking to, you're networking through all these individuals.
There's no silver bullet in sales, but on Sales Against the Odds, we're here to give you the best shot at building a sales infrastructure that helps you scale. I'm your host, Lee Brumbaugh. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Sales Against the Odds. My name is Lee Brumbaugh, CEO of Sales Xceleration. Very excited to have Donnie Boivin with us today. He is the founder of Success Champion Networking, has done a lot of work with our Sales Xceleration advisors in starting their own groups. Excited because a lot of listeners today, when you think about networking, it's how do we do it better? How does my sales team do it better? And I think there'll be a lot of great tips for you to learn from Donnie today. Donnie, thank you so much for joining us.
Brother, thanks for having me on. I love the name of this show, and I'm excited to hang out with you. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Against the Odds, right? And so
it's a great name.
A lot of what we'll talk about is how you've built your company through Against the Odds. So we've met through Sales Xceleration, and a lot of our advisors have started their own groups. But I would love to just start with, tell me a little bit about your journey, like how you've built this amazing B2B networking infrastructure around it. Tell us a little bit how your background kind of led you here.
Yeah, for sure. So career sales guy. I was never a sales manager, never a sales leader. I just sold a lot and made a lot of people a lot of money over the years. Early in my career, I sold commercial printing, and I primarily sold in the Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 space. When I say I sold commercial printing, if they weren't ordering $250,000 to $1 million worth of print a year, it wasn't worth a conversation to talk to them. And so when I started out early in that career, networking just plain and simply sucked. I'd go to events and it'd be real estate agents, financial advisors, mortgage, or somebody wanted to check my chakras, right? I just knew traditional networking wasn't going to work for me. I didn't want to be the guy that was doing cold calling and kicking in doors. So I was going to figure out how to make networking work. So I figured out a couple of cool methodologies. I later went on from commercial printing after selling hundreds of millions of dollars over my career to working for Sandler Training for a number of years. I sold sales training for them, later became a Sandler trainer, won all the silly awards and all of those things that come along with that type of work. And then in 2020, I started Success Champions in 2017. In 2020, when the pandemic hit, I watched the world moving online, and I knew how hard it was to build an online business at that point. So I saw an opportunity. I jumped in. I launched SEN really to try and help as many people, stay in business and continue to do business. And when we launched, we had a really high turnover. And what I realized quickly was people didn't network like I networked. They were networking, which was being taught in a traditional sense, which comes from your real estate agents, your financial advisors. When I sell you a house, I don't need to talk to you for the next 10, 20 years. So it was very transactional in nature. And when you're networking in that space, everybody can sell everybody. But when you're selling business to business and you're selling into mid-market or multi-million-dollar companies, your decision makers are hardly ever in any room that you're going to get in. So I had to completely change how networking was done based off of the things I'd done in the past, built a framework around it. And now SCN, Success Champions Networking, we're at 450 members, 30 chapters, 9 countries, and continuing to grow. And it's been phenomenal. And hanging out with Sales Xceleration has been one of the cooler partnerships we've actually had.
Yeah, I love that, Donnie. So, you mentioned transactional, right? So let's dive in there a little bit, because I'd love to get your perspective of, you mentioned that real estate, developing the network. When you think about like good networking, how it's evolved, like what does that look like versus maybe 10 years ago, or somebody that does do kind of that, as you described that?
10 years ago, there was this thought process of you network everywhere. You get to every event, you do everything. And there wasn't any strategy and game plan. It was a lot of show up and hope. And then, pandemic hit, moved a lot of things online. Our groups even meet, virtually. But it continues to evolve because we're seeing a huge push of fractional coming into the marketplace, which is awesome. I really think 2026 is going to be the year of the fractional, because companies are realizing that they could pay a CEO, $2 million to run their company, or they could bring in a fractional CEO at a portion of the cost, right, to do the same type of role. So what happened was as more people moved into the marketplace, more people moved into the B2B space, what they found is a lot of lack of opportunity because our ideal clients, our ideal customers weren't in the traditional rooms. You're not going to find them at chamber events. And I'm not bashing on these organizations. You're not going to find them in a BNI. Like you had to move upstream. And then I found that most of the networking that was taught in the space was you introduce yourself, you use some sort of jingle, or you have this specific elevator pitch and 30-second commercial. And maybe back in the day that worked. It's never worked for me. But I always joke with people, imagine walking up to a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, introducing yourself with a jingle, and then let me know how that's going to work out for you, right? So it has to dynamically change because in transactional networking, the conversation is always centered around the person you're talking to can buy what you're selling. But when you're in B2B, the person you're talking to can't buy what you're selling. They're not a big enough company traditionally. So you have to change the dynamic of instead of networking to, you're networking through all these individuals. So I get people into the framework that networking is really about building other people's businesses, and that usually creates a dynamic mental shift for them.
So you're coming in and you're coming into SCN and you're starting to build and you're meeting people that you feel like have these relationships. How do you show value there? Like as you think about like just what you're doing, is it more relationship based? Like how do you get early traction if you were starting like within an SCN type group?
You need to dynamically understand what an ideal client for you is. I'm really like when people get focused on an industry specific like manufacturing or healthcare or something. Once you know that, then it'll tell you that if you were to break down, let's just use manufacturing, makes it easiest. If you look at a manufacturing company, inside that company, there's several departments, operations, accounting, finance, sales, marketing. There is somebody in an industry that sells to that department inside that manufacturing company. So I have to shift my thinking to I'm going to find the CEO of a manufacturing company while I'm out networking and start shifting it to who else sells to another department inside that manufacturing company that I can network and connect with. So let's say I do, fractional sales. And if that's the case, then maybe I need the fractional COO, the fractional CFO, or maybe I need the MSP, the IT department that's specifically focused on manufacturing. So as I'm getting early in the game, getting traction, I'm introducing myself in a completely different way. It's going to be, hey, I'm Donnie, I do fractional sales, but my best referral partners tend to be people who are fractional COOs selling to manufacturing, people who do MSP in the manufacturing. And what you'll find is you're dynamically changing how people are having a conversation with you. Now, more important than a first interaction or a first out the gate is you need to be more focused on them and who they need to be connected to. So if you and I were just meeting for the first time, let's go back to my commercial printing days, I would say, hey, Lee, I sell commercial printing. I'm looking to meet promotional products and marketing firms. Those are my best referral partners. And then Lee, what do? You'd obviously say some sort of fractional sales. And I said, I probably have quite a few people I know that are in fractional operations or the like. Are you okay if I start introducing you to some of the people I know? And I found that by actually introducing people to their best referral partners, it dynamically starts building trust. It starts moving the relationships forward and really ups your brand either in a local group or in a local community.
At Sales Acceleration, even inside our groups, we're teaching the same thing and how we build kind of referral partners. And I always tell people, at the end of the day, it's really trading baseball cards, right? You're finding somebody, if we have similar ICP or we know we connected, and there's a lot of value to be able to say, I think a lot of people say, well, this is my ICP, and they get too locked in on that. But to say, like, I'm the connector, right? I know you were trying to get into manufacturing, I had somebody else trying to get into the healthcare space, and I'm able to connect those dots too, and you're the person that's influencing that. I think is a powerful concept. So the more specific and tangible you can be of Lee wants to get into the manufacturing space for a $20 to $40 million type company. That may not be who you're trying to get into, but by connecting with him, you open the door here, that opens the door there. There's so many ways to Kevin Bacon it out, right?
We always absolutely. And what I want people to think is that I want to find the people who are the best in the game at what they do. So people that are absolute masters of their craft. If I can find that person, the value I can bring by going out and networking specifically for them. So let's say we'll stay in the manufacturing lane. In my head, is if I can dynamically connect you to the best people that sell into the manufacturing space, if I can connect and help you guys bridge that relationship, then a lot more business gets done. Where people get hung up on is when we say, introduce people, they think, well, I don't have any CEOs of manufacturing. That's a referral, right? What I'm looking to do is get the people that are also selling into. And I want to bring you enough value to where it gets to the point where you look at me and it's a no-brainer for you to turn around and like, God, I've got to do something for Donnie because he continues to do something for me. But there's an ideology inside of there that I think is broken. There's a framework that's been used for years, and once again, not bashing on the organization, but it says givers gain, and I disagree wholeheartedly. And the reason I disagree is because that's forced people to give, and get nothing in return. If you continue to give and never get anything back, that means somebody doesn't respect your business back. And for me, business is mutual respect. It's got to be a win on both sides of the table. So I'm going to open doors, give you opportunities, make introductions. And if we go for a year or so and you never reciprocate, you don't even bring my name up in a conversation, I'm going to move on to somebody else and invest my time there to build out stronger and more reliable things. It's not about tit for tat. I give you a referral, you give me one back. I want a mutual respect on both sides of that conversation.
What do you do when that's not happening? When you had that referral partner, you had that initial meeting, connected well, understood each other's businesses, and you've started to open some doors and make those connections, but it's not, is it just direct a conversation or do you just move on?
I got a whole process I teach around this, and it's a 4-part, we call them virtual coffees because most of our times we're meeting virtually, but 4-part, virtual coffee series where it takes them through. And if somebody makes it to the 4th virtual coffee with me, we've done some serious business together. So it's a process. So like in the first virtual coffee, you literally should throw away most of that coffee and do nothing but focus on them and make introductions for them. And so in that process, if you're opening doors, if during that meeting they make unsolicited introductions for you, then go ahead and schedule a second virtual coffee 30 days out. Because that means they already get the game. You don't have to teach them networking. And then there's 3 more stages that go behind this, but you've got to have a process to networking. If you're just winging it, you're going to lose every time because that's like asking, or waiting for a magical unicorn to pop up and go, hey, you have found business. It's not going to happen. It's got to be a process. But yes, at some point, if somebody's not returning the value, not reciprocating, then I'm going to professionally be upfront and go, hey, Lee, I've done a lot of introductions. I've opened a lot of doors. I'm just curious, have you thought about bringing my name up in any particular conversations? And usually what they're going to say is, I just don't fully understand, or I don't have any clients to introduce you to. That's when you have to go to an educational moment and say, look, I don't need you to introduce me to my clients. I need you to help get me to referral partners.
We see that a lot in what we teach too, because we'll have a lot of our new advisor community, and we'll hear all the time the objective, like, well, it's so hard. How do I give back when I'm just starting my practice? I have a national network and I don't know as much locally. You've got to teach people to be creative. When I started my own practice in Houston, I had a national network, but I still had some partners and people that I'd work with, even neighbors or referrals. And so if you're just thinking creatively of like, this guy goes to my church, but I know this is what he does in this area, you can make open doors. I think people get caught up in, I've got to make this perfect referral into this client, this business owner that will instantly bring them $20,000 of revenue. That's not 3 steps ahead of where we want to be, right?
Yeah. I always look at them and say, hey, are you doing any sort of in-person networking? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, how many business cards do you have sitting on your desk right now from people you've met out networking? And they're like, I don't know, 10, 20, 30. I'm like, pull out those business cards and we're going to play Go Fish. They're like, cool. Do you have a fractional CFO in there? Right? And they'll laugh and like, yeah, I've got a fractional CFO. I'm like, cool. Do you have a fractional chief marketing officer? Yeah, I do. Cool. Would you do me a favor and send an email between those 2 guys and say, hey, I don't know if you guys have met yet, but you guys are both playing the fractional game. Thought it might be a good conversation. If you've already met, no harm, no foul. Just know I was thinking about you. Right? And it can be that simple and that tactical, that quick to make an introduction, and watch the response you get from the people that you make that introduction to, because they'll literally go, oh my goodness, thank you for thinking about me. What can I do for you? Right? It just starts off the reciprocity game.
Most companies don't have the bandwidth to build a high-functioning sales department to allow them to meet their revenue targets. With Sales Xceleration, they don't have to. Our experienced fractional sales leaders consult and implement your sales strategy, infrastructure, management, and team development. Discover how we deploy these proven sales solutions to address your sales challenges by going to our website and filling out the contact form. We'd love to hear from you. Go into a meeting of know who you want to spend 5 minutes, and you're driving halfway across town to get a coffee. Spend 5 minutes on a LinkedIn profile and say, hey, look, I know you know Donnie or John and Tom, and I know LinkedIn you get connected to everybody, but of these 5 people, who do you know well? Because I'd really like to get to know Donnie because I'm trying to build out my network. I think it's important to be, like you're saying, very intentional. It's not just, you don't just go in and you wing it. You've got to have a plan. You've got to have a strategy. So I think that's a great takeaway, hopefully, for the audience.
I agree. I'm fixing to do a really crazy thing here down in Houston, Texas. So, sometimes you have those random shower thoughts that pop in your head. So I thought, man, what if I went to a city where I didn't know anybody, had no contacts, no connections, spent 5 days, documented the whole thing, and literally showed people how to build a network from scratch, asking for no favors, no introductions, not leveraging my current network. So I'm going to do it. So literally, I don't know when this is coming out, but May 18th through the 22nd, I'm heading down to Houston. I'm mapping out the whole thing where I'm plotting all the events I'm going to, how I'm finding the events, and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to record the before and after each event, talk about if it's a good event, bad event, who I met. And then the Monday afterwards, I'm inviting all the people that I met in Houston to a Zoom call, and my goal is to launch one of our SEN chapters out of doing that 5 days in Houston, just to show people the entire process. Because I think a lot of people have all this made up ideas in their freaking head around networking, and I want to show it as much as I possibly can in real time. So I've been getting camera equipment and all kinds of stuff to pull this off.
For the audience, I'm in Houston. I'm going to be part of your process. So we may have to do a follow-up to this on how this goes, because I'm going to see how you branch in, and that's cool.
Yeah, so this is going to be the first test is going in cold with no network. The second time, I may do Houston, I may do another city, but I'm literally going to leverage my network to show everybody what it looks like to unleash your network, saying, hey, I'm going to Houston. Where should I need to be? Who do I need to meet? Because so many people have already I've got so many people for you to meet. I'm like, hold on, let me go in and do this cold. I want to show you can do it cold, and then we'll come back and do it, leveraging everybody's contacts.
And that's the fun part, is when you connect and you're impactful and you're meaningful and you do it creatively and differently. People don't want canned, so to build it from scratch, I'll love to see how this experiment goes. That's great. So I'm a fractional outsourced VP of sales, like Sales Xceleration, or a fractional CFO or IT, and I joined SEN. What should I expect? What's good look like for those that join your networking group?
Yeah, I would say early on, protect your calendar, because you are going to get more virtual coffees than you ever had doing any other experiment on the planet, because our people understand the power of meeting people, making introductions. Like anything, out the gate early on, it's going to be a lot of introductions. So the thing you need to do absolutely is get very specific with who you want to be introduced to. Because in our world, if you say, I want to meet a fractional CFO, the mountains are going to move. People are going to make introductions for you out the gate and immediately. Then once you get introduced to those perfect referral partners, you've got to dynamically understand that if you open doors for them, right, then opportunities will come for you. But I want people to understand that in our world, to close deals, you're usually 3 to 5 sales calls before you get a deal done. Think networking the same way. Doing one virtual coffee or one in-person coffee with somebody is not going to get you to anything but success-wise. So think about, how do I go deep with this person? How do I build a relationship beyond the transactional networking? And usually people are starting to see some really good things happening 3 to 6 months into their business, because they're taking time to build relationships and finding strategic partners that they can do crazy things. Like, we got clients that go prospects together now. We got members that, are hosting huge events and inviting all their clients to. We're doing happy hours together. We're bringing clients together. So there's a lot of things that happen, but it's way beyond what you get out of it. You have to think about this as your business development strategy. Just like you'd expect a salesperson to go get ROI from the activity, you've got to do the exact same thing. So before you dive in, what's the ROI you need in this? And think beyond just clients and revenue. Like, there's exposure, there's opportunities, there's other things. What does that look like, and how are you measuring it?
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that you've got to understand the long game on this. When our advisors launch their practice, we'll say our time to first client is, I think we're at 87 days, so it's just under 3 months. But one of the worst things actually happens is we get an advisor sometimes and they get 1 or 2 clients very quickly out of the chute. but they haven't taken the time to build their strategic ecosystem. So they start with client delivery, and all of a sudden that work that needs to go into building that network. I mean, once you have that there, as long as you keep a good pulse of how to follow up and meet the right people that want to help you grow your business and you want to give back, then it's very easy to keep going. But sometimes we struggle because you get caught up in client delivery before you actually build that ecosystem. So I think people have to understand it really is building that network. It takes time, but once you're there, good things then start to all kind of come at once.
I learned as a young sales guy, I had one client when I was selling commercial printing that was doing like $1.2 million of business for me. So it's a good size account for when it came to commercial printing, but it was my only account and I was straight commission. And all of a sudden this new VP of marketing comes into that company and 30 days later I'm out and I literally have no business. So I go from making a great commission to zero. And I remember looking at my sales manager at that point. His exact phrase is, Donnie, you've always got to keep one iron in the fire. He's like, yes, you have to deliver, but you've always got to keep one iron in the fire. Like you've always got to have somebody you're prospecting, somebody you're talking to, right? It doesn't mean that you're going to land that deal, but deals take time. Same thing here in networking, same thing with your sales acceleration guys is if you stay in delivery mode and never work on the business development side of things, at some point you're going to come up dry and now you're starting from zero. And starting from zero is a very big lift.
I agree with that. I know I looked it up before. I think it was Badass Business Summit. So I love the title. Tell me a little bit about what this looks like and what people that attend get out of that.
It all started because I wanted to be on stages and talking in front of rooms and the like, and then I realized quickly nobody knew who the hell I was, so nobody was giving me the opportunity. So I built my own summit. So we're on year 7. It's a 3-day business development summit. So day 1 is for VIPs and our members, and then day 2s and 3 really kicks off with a 2-day all-in action-oriented summit. We are a summit that we teach and then you put into place. I don't want people to walk away and then pull out their notebook and go, what was that triangle thing again? So we teach, you put it in play, you put it in action. So we'll have 300 people in north of DFW in Coppell, Texas. We have some cool sponsors already in the mix with Go High Level and some other cool relationships, your CMO and the likes. But it's 3 days of high caliber networking. So if you're in the fractional space, you're in that SMB space, but you're selling mid-market, this is your room to come network with the right people. We always do fun things. We have karaoke every year on Thursday nights, just a fun way for people to let their hair down. It's 3 days of a lot of fun. You can go find it at badassbusinesssummit.com and phenomenal speakers. And it's by the time you're done, you will have this year an entire market game plan of how to grow your business to the next phase and next level. It's been one of the coolest things we built. It's one of those things you put into everything you don't like about summits. We focused on that for ours to make it the right summit.
So we talked a lot about kind of referral partners that are listening in, but we'll have a lot of this audience that's, it's a business owner of a $5 million company. And what you find is you referenced 10 years ago, you do an email. 10 years ago, it was just all SEO driven, right? PPC and those sorts of things. Now it's, well, maybe you do all these fancy AI email campaigns. We all know we get too much in our inbox and we delete those. So it is going back to, I think we're seeing more of a shift, even more of networking to the right people. It's not only impactful for referral partners, but for business owners, right? That are getting out physically themselves. So you're a business owner and you're listening to this today and you're like, man, I need to do more myself from a networking standpoint. What does good look like for that business owner that's still really busy in the trenches of their business, but still wants to have some type of balance of building their own brand and being part of the networking themselves?
Yeah, I think if I were in their shoes, the first thing I'd think about is there an industry association that's focused on my industry that I'm a part of? And I would dive into that world to see what opportunities there. But then, get outside the box is where are they spending time learning about things like AI? Are they going to any AI, events, conferences? Where are they investing in their personal journey? I think, oftentimes I'll talk to a lot of business owners and, they're so in the business, they're never looking outside at what's coming next down the road. They're just working on the business. So where is their personal growth in that journey coming from? Where are they trying to get more knowledge and wisdom in that arena? And then, I'm also fascinated that a lot more CEOs aren't sitting in some sort of peer advisory group or the like, because even for myself, you get pretty lonely sitting at the top of a company, because if you've built it right, you have a lot of people doing a lot of things. You're still busy, but your job most times is sit back and say yes or no on a lot of projects. So if that's the case, you're really, really, really lonely. So if you're sitting in your company by yourself and you're not actively engaged out in the real world beyond the business, you're missing out on a lot of opportunities and things coming down the road. So those are the biggest things I'd be looking for.
Yeah, I love those takeaways. And, part of it is I see a lot of, especially CEO level, is you go very superficial. And so it's like you're hitting a bunch of stuff, but you're not going deep anywhere.
Yep.
And whether you're a business owner listening today or an advisor or a fractional, whatever, the best group is where you're giving back. Like not only you're building relationships, but you're helping others grow in their business. You're forming deep relationships. You're giving. Like if you're finding a group where you're giving your time, you're getting feedback, you're learning from your peers, like I'd rather you, just like anything else, the 80-20 rule applies to network. I'd rather you deep with a group where you can be productive and get valuable information, share valuable information versus attending 5 different chamber things that you just
100%.
dip your toe in.
Yeah, something I like to get people to really think about is, imagine if you and I were at a networking event and I walked up to you at that event and I said, "Hey, Lee, I'm Donnie. I'd love to meet your largest customer so I could pitch them my services." There's no way in hell you're going to introduce me to that customer, right? You don't know me. There's no value. So how much trust, and this is a rhetorical question, but how much trust, how much time, how long would it take for me to earn your trust before you would introduce me to your number one client? Now reverse that as you go out networking, because that's the level of trust people need from you. They've got to be able to understand that you can deliver. You're the right guy. You're going to follow up. You're going to make them look good. Like there's a lot of things that are play into that. So if you look at networking of how am I earning that level of trust with the people in the group, you have no choice but to go deep. Like you've got to go beyond, the original conversation. Like, do they have kids? What's their family life? What are their hobbies? What are they into? Most people are not this good about going that deep into the conversation. They're just doing drive-by networking, which is going to all the chamber events like you were talking about, right? And so they think if they just show up, that magical unicorn's going to pop up. But man, it really requires you to establishing and earning a lot of trust. And if you're giving back, it's the fastest way to move the needle on that whole trust algorithm with people. Because if I do good things for you, in theory, you'll do good things back for me.
Even like the little things, their favorite college football teams, wins a football game, you shoot them a text. Like even, we teach so much of like building relationships with our customers and then we don't apply it to the same thing.
And it's the exact same thing because literally they're your word of mouth sales team. They're the people that are in the best position to bring your name up in the rooms you're not in. What do you have to do to earn that right? That's the way I always try to position it for myself.
Well, Donnie, this has been great. Very happy to have you on. I look forward to finding out what you do on these experiments. We may have to get kind of a follow-up on this, but love what you're doing. Love what you've done with our sales acceleration community in bridging a gap for what is a big need in the B2B space. So thank you so much,
brother. Hey, and really quick, if you made it this far hanging out with us and you got any value out of this, do us a favor, take a screenshot wherever you're listening or watching this and post it out on social media or share it to somebody. If you post it on LinkedIn in particular and you tag me in it, I promise I'll come give it love. I love LinkedIn. I love that platform. But as Lee continues to grow this out and Sales Acceleration continues to grow this out, building an audience is one of the toughest things in the world for shows like this. So if you take a screenshot, you tag Lee in it, you tag me in it, we'll come give it some love and help push this thing further so we can reach more, voices, more people out there and really turn this into 10 times better than it already is, which would be phenomenal and great for the marketplace as a whole.
Great call to action. Why didn't I think of that? Maybe that's why you're the founder of Success Champion Networking. So, Donnie, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great today. Thank you, everyone, for joining another episode of Sales Against the Odds. Join us again in 2 weeks where we bring on another business thought leader that challenges how we grow our business. Thanks, everyone. You've been listening to Sales Against the Odds. Be sure to hit that follow button so you never miss an episode. And if you want more resources on scaling sales, check out our website at salesxceleration.com.